Okay. So, this is the lead generation masterclass. And basically, we're going to go through a couple of slides, kind of, talking about who the training is for and who it's not for. So, okay. And now it's not going to, okay, there we go. Okay, there we go. It's working now. This training is for you if you're overwhelmed, stuck, anxious, confused, or stressed out. If you want to think outside of the box, you don't want to be known as a pushy salesperson. You want people coming to you asking for help, and you're tired of old school strategies that have you chasing clients. You'd like to work on your own schedule, and you want lead generation to be easy. What you're going to learn today, you'll determine which marketing strategies you want to employ in your business. You'll learn how to offer your services in a way that makes leads flock to you, and you'll get clarity on what steps to take next to get your business up and running quickly. And for you, Carolyn, I'm sure you're already up and running. So, okay, so who is this training not for? It's not for you if you like to work hard to get each and every lead. If you want to spend the majority of your time on lead generation, you want to do what everyone else is doing. You don't want to try new ideas. You're not good with providing value. You want an overnight success plan, or you just want to figure it out on your own. Okay, a little bit about me. I'm a mom of 4. I've been married for 20 years. I was first licensed in 2002. I started training other agents and learned about reverse prospecting in 2005. In 2008, I opened up my own real estate office, which seems like the worst time to have done that, but I did it anyway. I've also earned my bachelor's and my master's in business administration, and I'm a real estate coach, and I help realtors organically attract leads on demand using reverse prospecting without spending money on ads or chasing leads. I am great at that. Woohoo. Okay. My family. So we love to visit different national parks. Really, we love to just travel. We're huge Seahawks fans. We live in Washington after all. We rock hound. We often have photography contests, and we spend a lot of time either in the mountains or at the beach. Okay, so let's get started. Traditional prospecting methods of real estate. Obviously, I think we both know all of these, but for the people who watch the recording, I'm going to go through them. Okay, so obviously there's cold calling and door knocking, pop buys, your sphere of influence, farming, expireds, for sale by owners. Cold calling is where you pick a person that you don't know, call them out of the blue to determine if they're interested in buying or selling real estate. It's not really a lot of agents' favorite way to go about things, but a lot of people try and power through. This is not for everyone, and it is a lot of times going to, it may get people a little upset. Okay, door knocking. When you pick a neighborhood and stop by, knock on their door and ask if they're interested in buying or selling. And if not, do they know anyone who is? This is, of course, if they answer and don't get angry. Pop buys, very similar. You pick a neighborhood and randomly stop by with gifts like seeds, recipes, or another inexpensive gift to remind people that you're in business and willing to help them. This is used a lot of times also for past clients. It's used to ask for referrals. It's a method of keeping you top of mind in the neighborhood, and it's more of a long-term marketing strategy. Sphere of influence, the people you know, friends, family, coworkers, basically everyone you know. This is one of the things that every single broker will tell you to do. Basically, I think you would agree too, right, Carolyn? Everyone, this can be effective. But one of the things that a lot of agents will say is these are some of the hardest transactions you may ever deal with. Friends and family in business don't mix. Okay, farming. This is when you choose a neighborhood to market to and focus on. Most of the time, farming consists of mailing postcards, door knocking, pop buys. This can be effective. Again, it's a long-term marketing effort and it will not likely get you leads on your first attempt. You're probably going to be knocking a few times. Okay, cold calling expireds. When you go through the MLS looking for properties that did not sell when they were first listed and therefore expired, a lot of realtors will be reaching out to them. The sellers have likely been bombarded and may not be super friendly. It can result in listings. Sellers, however, may not be reasonable. It did expire after all. There also may be an issue with the property. Obviously, we all know what for sale by owners are. A lot of realtors will be reaching out to them. The sellers have likely been bombarded and again, may not be super friendly. It can result in listings. They're not always keen on working with real estate agents. Someone's probably told them that they can do it on their own. They've heard this. They're trying to save money. They think it's easy. They really don't understand everything that goes into it and what they need to know. Okay, so what do all of these things have in common? They're all methods where you are chasing leads and prospects. You are going after them to try to get them to work with you. So what's wrong with chasing people? Okay, this is my example. What do you normally do or say when a salesperson approaches you? You say, I'm just looking, right? Why? Because you don't want to be bothered by a salesperson until you're ready to ask questions, right? Okay, so how do you want to be known? Do you want to be known as a pushy salesperson or a knowledgeable professional? I'm guessing knowledgeable professional. So how do you become known as a knowledgeable professional, especially if you're starting in a new area of, you need to start sharing value with your audience. You need to do it in a way that has people reaching out to you. You need to be using reverse prospecting, which is basically a method. It's a strategy that, in my opinion, it's all about teaching. There's other names for it, but basically you're going to be attracting clients to you because you're giving value. You're providing them with something up front that makes them say, like, you're making an offer and they say, okay, I want what you're offering, or I need to know more about this. One way or the other, they're reaching out to you. And when they reach out to you, they're much more likely to respond and communicate with you and answer questions because you're not just randomly calling them out of the blue. Okay. As I was saying, reverse prospecting is when you offer something of value and your ideal client raises their hand to say, I want what you're offering. So, as we've been talking about this week, you need to know who your ideal clients are. You need to know what your ideal client's problem is, and you need a solution to their problem. As we've covered this week already, it's important to identify your ideal clients so that you can figure out how to communicate with them effectively. The more you know about who your ideal clients are, the clearer your message is going to be, and the easier it will be for them to understand that you're talking directly to them. It's important to identify your ideal client's problems so that you can figure out how to communicate with them effectively. The more you know about what your ideal client's problem is, the easier it will be to solve. And once you identify their problem, you obviously need to help them solve the problem. The solution doesn't need to be complicated. The purpose of solving their problem is to make them see you as the professional who can help them. So the solution that you offer is designed to be juicy, that makes people want what you're offering. But in the end, the solution overall is working with you. Okay, so now we're going to look at some examples. Okay, So first of all, we're going to talk about investors. So let's say your ideal clients are investors looking to flip a home. What is their problem? An investor may be thinking that they need to know about foreclosures, possibly pre-foreclosures. They need to find more homes that are in fixer-upper condition, or maybe they think they need a deal. So what's the solution? You could offer a free list of foreclosures. You could offer them help in finding pre-foreclosures. You can talk to title companies, and a lot of times they will have information or lists. I have never asked mine, but I've heard many people tell me this, that you can ask the title company and they have lists of rentals or like property owners who don't live in the home or rent out the homes. Okay, so as an example with this, one of my favorite posts or, things that I've done to bring in investors is simply asking the question, who would like a free list of foreclosures emailed to you? And this like immediately makes people raise their hand and say, okay, like I've considered, buying or whatever. It's like the foreclosures for some reason is the trigger word, but it makes them kind of stand up and take notice and say, okay, yes, that's what I need, or that's what I want. I've picked up a lot of investors just using that one question on social media. Okay, so let's say your ideal clients are sellers looking to sell a home. What is their problem? A seller may be thinking that they need to know the value of their home, what repairs they should do, how to choose the correct agent, when to start packing, how to stage their home. I'm assuming, Carolyn, we could probably come up with some more things. But the idea is that each of these things, if we have a solution, each solution that we find is another opportunity to be in front of them, offering to help. So what if you offered a free list of repairs to do? Maybe the top things to increase your sales price. You could do, kind of just a little PDF of how to pick your agent. And when you do that, of course, you make it like you talk about your assets, what you bring to the table, and, your benefits and how other agents, you compare yourself to other agents in that you want people to come to you for your assets. And so when you're telling them, like, you want to tell them, you want an agent who's ethical, you want an agent who's this, who's that, these things, but you want them to say like, oh, like, look at her, like she's checking off all the boxes. Like, everything you put on that list is going to be you, basically. Okay, you may offer a CMA, a moving checklist of some sort, or information on staging their home. Okay, so let's say that your ideal clients are first-time home buyers. What is their problem? A first-time home buyer may be thinking that they can't buy a home. They may think they need to repair their credit, or don't have enough money for a down payment, or don't know about the extra costs, or maybe they just don't know where to start. So what's the solution here? You could talk to them about down payment assistance programs. You could talk to them about credit. You can talk to them about minimum credit scores, and you can offer to help them through each step. One of my best posts, my most favorite post of like all time, when I post it in a buy sell trade group, I swear to you, every single time I have had over 100 people respond. And it's gotten to the point that sometimes I get afraid to post it just because I know I'm going to have to talk to that many people. And it's like a little overwhelming to take on that many people all at one time or within, a day or two. So anyway, so that post, it revolves around talking about minimum credit scores, letting them know that, and I talk to my lenders first to make sure I have someone, but saying that, the minimum credit score is a 580. Kind of letting them know that, okay, so how does my post go? It is basically talking about a renter to homeowner program. And basically it talks about the minimum credit score being a 580 and that you need 2 years job history, but that it doesn't have to be the same job. And then basically I tell them to reach out to me. Like I always include a call to action, always make it as easy as possible. So like if I'm on social media, the easiest way for them to reach me is for them to DM me. If I say, call me, and they're on social media and they're scrolling, they're probably not going to call me. Like they're not going to stop their scrolling. But if you say DM me, they may very possibly go right there. If you were to include a link, like maybe, fill out this information here, it might work, but at the same time, it might also put a little too much pressure on them. If you say something like apply now, though, for this program, and a program can be whatever we want it to be. So, if for me, when I say that I have a program, that I can help them with, it is like, I'll put them into my Facebook group. I will talk to them about all of the things that they need to know. And I will help them. Like I will put them in touch with credit repair people or resources that can help them repair their credit. If when I send them to the lender, they can't get pre-approved, that sort of thing. So no matter what they do, I'm helping them move forward. Of course, it's on them if they do that or not, but that's kind of the method that I use. And it works really well to get people just like kind of going. But when you have 100 leads coming in, you kind of have to have a system. And so, getting these people, like knowing that, okay, today I'm going to post this and I'm going to have all these leads. I need to have a lender to send them to, or have the resources, for credit repair for them. Basically, it's going to need to be one of the two to get them started on the right path. And I'll explain to them that if they can't get pre-approved, that my lender will talk to them and help them, give them tips, also to improve their credit and like what steps they need to take to do that. And so when I do this post, it really, it changes people's worlds, because you're giving them information that they assume they need near perfect credit. They assume that they need, a large down payment. A lot of people still assume that you need 20% down. So talking about all of these things, even though we feel like it's common knowledge, talking about these things and showing them is really what's going to help them choose to take the next step and help them move forward. And if you give them an easy path to do that, it's just going to make it that much easier for them to reach out to you. Okay, so this is an ad that not an ad, a post that I've done before as a home buyer ad. Basically, it's fairly simple. Just thinking about buying a home, find out the 13 extra costs that you need to be aware of before buying a home. Don't be surprised by extra costs. DM me for more information. And then I have like a PDF that I do that basically has just the different costs, talking about, I mean, everything from, the potential that you may need to clean or paint or, these things, and appraisals and inspections and, kind of all of the things that go into buying a house. The potential for flood insurance or, any of these kinds of things. Um, so anyway, so I have this PDF, and basically someone reaches out to me and says, okay, Corey, like, I want to know what these costs are. I want to see, this, like sometimes you could say, I've seen it. I don't like it. I don't love it, I guess. But you could say, get a special report or something like that, get this report on the 13 extra costs or whatever you want to name it. But basically, that is, this post to me has everything, because it kind of, it starts off by sort of asking a question that kind of gets them like, oh, okay, it asks them a question like that, sort of either yes or no, right? Like, yes, they've been thinking about it, or no, they haven't. It kind of gets them in or out immediately. But then it kind of piques their interest, like, oh crap, there's something I need to know about here, and if I don't know this, I may be spending extra money, or I may not, know whatever. So, and then I have them DMing me because it's a post that I normally do like on Facebook or somewhere. And it's easiest for them to just DM me when they're right there looking at this post than remembering to write down my number and call me or something like that. So you want to be very mindful of the easiest way for them to reach you. Sometimes that might just be comment below, but if you have a post that blows up and you have 100 people, that can get really, sometimes you can get blocked by Facebook for responding to too many people. And I kind of always take them into the DMs when I'm talking about buying or selling houses, because, I'm not going to talk about their personal business in front of other people. So if they DM me first, I don't get blocked by Facebook. Okay. So this is, okay. So there's a little more than obviously just posting this on social media. Like I said, there's kind of getting the system together and how to get everyone. It's like turning on the faucet and getting like blown by a fire hose instead of like the little dribble you're expecting. You want to know what to tell them, that sort of thing. And so basically you need to understand like where the best places to post it are, how to get the best results. And obviously you need something to send them before you get started. So I love to help people get leads. I love to help people kind of go through this process, and I love watching them then take it and just, start getting leads by using these ideas. So you need to know what you're going to do with all the leads. You need to understand how to communicate in a way that makes them clamor for what you're offering, which is a lot of what we've done, is getting them to that point and getting an offer put together. I just showed you the formula that I use to attract over 100 leads to me with one post. Some of this, you basically, there's more to it, obviously. And Carolyn, I know you know what I'm talking about. There's more to it than that. You need to know how to convert them. You need to know how to stay in front of them and continue to get them coming back to you, asking you more questions and asking you to help them. You want to nurture them in a way that kind of has them looking at you as if you're a celebrity. Not in that way, like that kind of sounds a little conceited, right? But in a way, like you want to be known as a personality and you want to have like them saying, okay, like I feel comfortable with Corey. I feel comfortable with Carolyn. Like I have seen them. I've seen her, do a video. Like I already feel like I know her some. You want them to feel that loyalty and that they want to come back to you. Okay. So obviously all of this is what I help my clients with. Basically I offer everyone who's in my group, but obviously I offer free strategy sessions basically so that we can talk about your business, your struggles, your goals, and then I help you kind of figure out what the next step is in your business or, with what you're struggling with. And then basically, if you do a free strategy session, you get the copy of the 13 extra costs to be aware of, what I send out. Okay. If you wanted to book a call, this is the link. Excuse me. When we do this, it is so important for us to remember always that we are teachers. We are kind of guiding them and we are showing them what it is that they need to know. And as long as we are putting information out there, the way that I look at this is, especially if you're using Facebook groups, every time you post and every time they see one of your posts, that's another touch. If it is them like reading a thing, seeing a new video, that is more powerful than just a post on Facebook. If they're joining you on a Zoom, that's probably more powerful because you're having a conversation with them. If you say like, hey, let's do a Q&A. What questions do you have about, estate planning? What questions do you have about what it goes into selling? What questions do you have? How can I help you? And you do a Zoom and you say, bring them all. Let's talk about it. What do you got? People are going to see you and they're going to respond to you, and then the more they know you, the more like willing they're going to be to work with you. You know what I mean? So, now it's time for Q&A. Any questions that you have, I am here to answer. And Carolyn, since it's just you and me, anything goes.
There we go. So in these buy, sell, trade groups, how are you finding like the best groups to use? Because I don't know if you're as restricted here, but there's a lot of groups that are offering like a lot of restrictions.
It really kind of depends. One of the things that sometimes I find that there's a little bit of mindset to it, like, because sometimes, they'll say, like, no advertising your services or something like that. But if you do a post that is more informational, did you know that you only need a 580 credit score and this, that sort of thing, like that's more informational than selling your services. You know what I mean? And so for me, I kind of feel like it's a little bit of mindset, because if we feel like I'm selling something here versus, I'm helping someone see, what's required of them. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that I haven't gotten kicked out of groups, because I have, but you know what I mean? Like I will always start a discussion. So instead of like I think I told you this the other day, instead of posting, like in the buy sell trade groups, if you just post, it'll try to bring it up like you're selling something basically. So I'll do it as start a discussion under that tab, and it doesn't act quite the same. And most of the time I just lost all my steam. I don't remember what I was going to say. Um, well, I think it's completely gone. So back to groups. The sometimes also talking to the admin of the group and letting them know that you're, possibly, I mean, okay, let's say you want to do a Zoom call and you have like a Q&A, not, not, oh,
Hold
no
on,
worries.
let me just, there we go.
um Sometimes letting them know that you have something coming up, or if you want to do some sort of an event or something like a Zoom event or something, and just kind of let them know, hey, I'm thinking about doing this, and basically I want to get your permission, you know what I mean, if it's something a little different than normal or something like that.
Okay.
But like I said, definitely I look at some of those things as mindset, because, like read it and then say, okay, am I actually advertising myself here, or am I helping someone? And I I don't know. I don't know. Sometimes that makes me feel funny, like I'm dancing around something, but I don't think so. I think really truly, when you look at what you're actually doing and giving information, you're offering value.
Okay.
um Other times I know that there are groups who are like, no, like they don't even want you to put houses for sale on them, or something like that.
Yeah.
And so, there are different groups like that, but that's one of the things that I try to do most of the time. I'm like, I want a group that has like 10,000 people. That is kind of that's about my favorite number. When you go above that, to me, and it may just be the groups that I'm in, when I get into the bigger groups, then I start getting a lot of spam messages back, it seems like.
Oh, yeah.
And so I've had a lot of that in like the bigger groups. At one point in time, I had a group that had like 200,000 members in it. And then I got it all under control. I brought in like 10 moderators and admin and everything. And then eventually I ended up selling the group, because I was just like, okay, like this is a full-time job trying to moderate all of the people. And then, the spammers and keeping them out and all of that. So I know that in the bigger groups, it's a lot harder sometimes to kind of keep an eye on those things. At the same time, you know, people report things and, get people kicked out too. So, sometimes I've had in certain groups where, but this was more is in real estate agent groups, where I was like helping someone, and I'm pretty sure it was another coach who like turned me in for helping someone, because he was paying, and basically I was offering free advice and he was paying to have basically he paid him like a fee every month so that he could advertise, and he didn't like that I was giving my advice for free.
Oh, yeah.
And so anyway, him and I aren't really talking anymore. But
Understandable.
right, yeah. So anyways, um I don't know where I was going with that, but sorry, kind of got sidetracked.
Actually, I think you've given me a good, I mean, I think that some of that might be a good idea for my first time home buyer group, to try and get some people closer to where I am rather than other parts of the state. I may, if I do some of the local groups, maybe I'll get some of the people in there, even if they're not ready to do anything now, that's kind of like a good incubator, like,
Exactly. The
yeah.
way that I look at it, as far as your Facebook group, it is like a holding pond. Put all of your buyers in there, put all of your sellers in your other group, anyone who has commented that they might be interested in doing, selling or buying, get them into your group, invite them in, tell them, the things that you're going to talk about in there. And basically once they're in, this is now, it's your blue ocean, right? Like it is your fishing pond. It is everything. And you can do whatever you want with it, but basically what I would say is, make it valuable for them, whether that is, maybe featuring people, home inspectors, or, it doesn't have to always even be house related, like in different areas. Maybe, if you're like, well, okay, your group is for your state. So, you could do, I was going to say you could do like different restaurants in your area, like, oh, this week we're featuring so and so, or I don't know. But then you can kind of cross promote, have them, like if you promote them into your group, see if they would promote you like on their Facebook page, or if they have a group, or, however they advertise, see if you guys could kind of cross promote, that
Okay.
sort of thing. In your particular situation, you can, well, for buyers and stuff, you could put up different things about the areas. You can do talking about, like I said, minimum down payment amounts, credit scores, kind of all of those things that kind of open their eyes a little bit. And when you start talking about those things, you'll start attracting people who are going, okay, like I hear you talking, I hear you, and you're intriguing me because I thought I needed perfect credit, and you're telling me it might actually be possible, and so people are going to start reaching out to you, and the more you talk about it, the more traction you're going to get. Another thing is that I want you to remember that even if you post in your group today, not everyone in your group is going to see it, just because of the way it is. So let's say you have 500 people in your group and you post today, you could post the same thing tomorrow and they may not see it. Not that I would recommend posting the exact same thing, but they may not see it like either of those posts, like, so it's okay to repeat content, and kind of go through the process. Don't feel, this is advice I need to, because I sometimes go back and I'm like, oh, I feel like I'm talking about the same thing over and over again. But when you're adding new people to the group, they need to hear the things that you've already talked about. So don't feel like, okay, I always need something new. You could talk about something on the first of each month, and then the second and the third, and just go through that way. But as long as you're adding new people to it, you always have an audience who's listening. And as you're educating them, as they feel comfortable, if you provide them with like lenders info and, stuff like that, different lenders, different title companies. I mean, you can provide them with, all parts of your team basically. And,
We're a little bit challenged here because we're an attorney state.
Oh, okay.
So a lot of the things that are available in other places, we don't have. So you can't go to a title company and get a lot of the things. So I listen. So when you're in the national ones, they always go, why don't you go to your, I'm like, no, it doesn't work here. It's a weird.
It's a different thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, like for pre-foreclosures, one thing that I like to do is I like to go into RPR.
Yeah, I'm using that a little more.
That's good. That's good. When you do a search, if you do it from your phone, you can, well, I know that you can do it online too, but I see it when I'm on my phone. You can do the search like, I'm going to have to pull it up real quick and see, because I can't think of how exactly it is. It like when it first logs on, it'll show you the screen of like everything. Okay, so in my town right now, there's or within half a mile of where I'm standing right now, sitting right now, there's 8 properties for sale, 3 new, 15 closed, and 3 distressed. So, on the app, it's a lot easier to search. Like I just click on the 3 distressed and it'll bring those 3 properties up. And then I could reach out to those people or do whatever.
Okay.
So using RPR is another, it's just another resource. But when I guess, like for investors, well, you would still in your MLS, do you have the option, for searching for foreclosures, like an REO section or something like that?
I can do bank owned. I can
Okay.
do bank owned, or I could do short sales.
Okay, good. Yeah, so that's an option in ours too. It didn't used to be. I used to have to search by owner name, and I had some shortcuts built into my MLS so that I could easily find them. But just by searching, because there were certain names that like were always for sale in our area.
Makes
Or
sense.
of sellers anyway. But yeah, so like when it comes to investors though, definitely like it's amazing. Just ask that question. Does anyone need a list of foreclosures, or whatever, and attention investors or whatever, and people are like, ooh, yes, yes I do. So anyways, okay, what else do you have for me?
You've been very helpful, honestly. You've given me a lot to think about and a lot to work on. When you're putting together your PDFs, are you using things like Canva to do that?
Yes. Yeah, I love Canva. I have the paid version. Basically, I use it all over in my business. I'll make graphics for my agents, and do different things for them just so they can take it in post and they don't have to stress about making anything. And I guess because that's kind of my outlet. I'm like, okay, guys, I'll do it. But yeah, I love using Canva.
I've started doing that for buyer and seller tips.
Yes, yes.
And I've done it like with a picture, and I've got like buyer tip and then like my information on it, just so that it's got the compliant, and then like just a little blurb. And then sometimes, so then it gives it a different graphic, and then I'll sometimes give it like different wording at the top. And I need to get more consistent with that, but I like your idea of, because I forget that, I could recycle some of those.
Exactly. And that's another thing too, is, and I kind of said it, but really, when you start looking at the things that you offer, honestly, I would almost advise you to sit down and write a list of like everything that you do, everything that you offer, like even the things that every other agent in your market has the ability to offer. That doesn't mean that they are. The only reason I say that is because, okay, so I have an office of 8 agents, and I know that it's my job to teach all of them how to do all the things that they need to do. Now, I have shown them and everything. And then I have these agents who come to me from other offices, coming in. And I'm like, oh, well, why don't you just set them up on an automatic email through Flex or MLS, and set them up on an automatic email so they get every time a new property comes out, they get an email, or every night they get an email of everything that came out that day. And they look at me just stunned, like, you can do that? And I'm like going, yes, like since the early 2000s, like, um, so I guess, don't assume that just because you offer it, and everyone else can offer it, that they do offer it. And make sure that you offer your services in a way that people are like going, oh, I want what she's offering. I need to know more about this, or, that sort of thing. Tell stories. I love to talk about, you know, I love to talk about, give examples, I guess, because, examples can be powerful and they kind of stick with you, a lot of times, and this is a little bit off topic, but a lot of times, like I have a story for my buyers when we're talking about earnest money and like all the things that go into, our offers and all the contingencies and everything. And I'm like, if something happens, do not stop talking to me. Like, I am your resource. I am who's going to help you get your money back. I'm going to help you like through this. And I tell them about this one buyer who he like literally took, this was like very early in my career, and my boss said, oh yeah, he can take the contract home and have his wife sign it and bring it back. So he did that. Later, I find out he signed the contract. And so now him and his wife are getting divorced because he's buying a house in her name and she doesn't agree with this. And I'm like, okay, basically, whatever, like I'm helping him. And then he stops talking to me. I don't know if he was embarrassed or what, but he stops talking to me. And he ended up losing his earnest money where I could have gotten it back for him. But because he would not communicate with me at all, he ended up losing it. And, that's like telling stories. It helps people see the bigger picture. You know what I mean? And so, like talking about how, maybe you're helping a first time home buyer and they, found out for the first time that, they could get pre-approved because they didn't need perfect credit. And, maybe even saying, hey, I have these clients with like a low 600 credit score who just bought their first property, with 3% down or 3.5%, whatever, or down payment assistance. They paid zero out of pocket, or, those kinds of stories, how you helped someone through, at the sale of an estate, like all the things that you put into helping them. Kind of build your story. What is it that you do? How is it that you help people? And talk about all of those things, so that they know who you are and what you do.
Okay. Where do you find some of the like local programs that like for the first time home buyers? Have you found any like special programs? Do you do your own research, or do you think lenders are the best?
Most of the time I talk to the lenders in my area. I will talk to several of them. Like I look at the ones a lot. I've been selling for almost 20 years now. So, I look at the ones who have been around for a long time, and I tend to talk to a lot of them. And so, like I have one gal, I used her when I first got started in real estate because she was tied with Century 21. And so she was like doing Century 21 loans. And so I used her in the beginning, and then like I switched out of Century 21, and so I didn't use her anymore. Well, now, she's moved from branch to branch of different, home, whatever, I can't, mortgage broker offices. But she's the only person who like will text me every time a new program comes out. And like she told me about a program for nurses, and I was like, what? Like there's a program specifically for medical, personnel who want to buy their first home. And I was like, that's freaking fabulous,
Yeah.
And so finding someone, talking to the different lenders, a lot of times we are their main source of leads anyway. So, if you're talking to them and saying, hey, let me know when a new program comes out, they may very well just be interested in doing that because you're going to send them leads.
Yeah, I would say lenders tend to be all, it's interesting though, because, you have them when you talk to them, and then when they get some people, I don't necessarily know, some of them do a great job of following up with them.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
That's kind of an interesting thing. It's like they're so excited, and it's like, okay, I've sent you. In fact, there was one who I want to say that I was trying something with a sales funnel that a different mortgage person has set me up with, and I probably sent her a good 15 to 20 people, and not a single one person came back out. No, I understand some of them might have credit, but you think they eventually would come out the other end.
Right, for sure. Yeah, at one point in my journey, I had kind of set up so because I talked to everyone through my Facebook group. Hold on, I'm going to stop sharing so I can see you better. There, yay. Okay. Okay, so basically, because most of the time I'm in my Facebook groups and then I go into the DMs to talk to them, I would create a group with the lender and the client. And so I would bring the lender in, and when they said, okay, I'm ready to get pre-approved, or I'm thinking about it, like I would pull the lender in and say, okay, if you have any questions, Angie's here to help answer them, And so it would kind of start that communication in front of my face. But then you can change the pictures on the chats. And so someone that I was working with at the time, he would say, use different color houses. And so then you can scroll through your chat, and basically you would see like a greenhouse, like, okay, so like a red house, maybe they had credit issues or something. A blue house, they were, pre-approved. A green house, like their offer was accepted, something like that. And then you can kind of keep an eye on it, where they are. You can go back to the lender and follow up and be like, okay, this person is, struggling with credit things, whatever. Have you talked to them? It's been a year, or it's been 6 months, or it's been whatever, that sort of thing. But it kind of color coding it, or, making a system so that you have a way to easily go back and look and kind of see what's going on. But if you have a lender, and this is what I did, because my lender, she didn't typically use DMs like that. And I was like, okay, but would you for me, because I'm going to be bringing in all these leads and they're all going to be coming to me through Facebook. And she was like, yeah, of course. I mean, when you tell a lender, like, I'm going to be bringing you leads, like, you know what I mean? Like, that's kind of their response. Like, okay, fine, sure, I'll help, I'll do that, if they're good, if they're, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, if they want to help, and I don't know, like, I don't know how to, I feel like I'm being kind of a spoiled brat right now. If they want the business, they'll be there. But you know what I mean? Like, kind of.
Well, actually, I love that idea of the group DM, because I didn't think of doing that, and that would be a better way to kind of manage that.
Yeah. And it keeps it, in one place, and even if it was a group text message, you know what I mean? And you could change pictures, that sort of thing on there too. But I love it in the DMs just because, they're on Facebook, that sort of thing, and it's just easy. So
no, that's huge right there, because like I said, some of them are just, you're like, okay, whatever happened to these people? And it's like, they can't all just disappear.
Exactly, exactly. And then you can give the lender permission, to change these things like as they see it. So, one color, maybe yellow, is like sending them to the lender, like they're at the lender. That's all we
Okay.
know. Maybe they haven't filled out the application yet. Maybe there's a color for application has been received, or something like that, and just go through the process. If the lender says, okay, like this person filled out an application, then from there, you'll know, like, okay, this yellow one, they filled out the application. We're just waiting. If in a couple days you haven't heard back, like, what the heck's going on? They filled out an application. Why haven't I heard?
Right.
And you can kind of keep track that way too.
Okay. That's
I hope
really
that
good.
helps. Okay, good.
Yeah, that really did, because I'm like I said, I've lost so many of the first time home buyers, I think, into the lenders. And I've tried talking, and even before COVID, talking and meeting with some of them, because you think, all right, well, maybe you need a relationship. And I'm like, this is getting to be
Yeah, it
crazy.
possibly talk to some other agents. If you have friends on Facebook that are agents also, ask, like, who are your favorite lenders that actually communicate, or who are your favorite lenders that follow up, and you may have lenders on your page too who are like, oh
They get very upset. Yes.
yeah, but you know what I mean? It is
True.
what it is. This is your business and these are your business partners. So you have an expectation. You set the standards, right? Like, I mean, this is your business and you know how you want it to be run. And so you know how you would treat your clients and what you expect for them to receive. And so I'm not afraid, like, if my lender doesn't do something, like, and someone's feeling like, I'm not getting the attention, whatever, I'm not afraid to say, okay, let's go try someone else. I've got someone else who is more than happy to be right there for you, if this lender isn't working out, and so, that's kind of, the way that I look at it. I want my people to feel like they're important because
Yes,
I feel like they're important, and that's what they deserve to feel like.
I agree. I agree. So yeah, you definitely have given me more with the first time home buyers to go back and work on them some more. And I still have to, the estates, I think, is going to be the probate is going to be I think my overall, because it's funny because I think at one point I would say to you, it didn't really matter to me buyers, sellers, but I think at the moment I kind of leaning more towards the seller realm.
Right. I think that we go through phases and stages in business, and sometimes, like for me, since the beginning of my career, I've sold foreclosures. And, first it was, to buyers, then it was for the banks, and, like my first two buyers, I think, were foreclosures. And then after that, I bought a foreclosure. And then I was like, okay, obsessed. Like,
Yeah.
especially back in the day when HUD paid like 5% for a buyer. And I was like, oh, I'm selling HUD
Yeah,
home.
nice.
Like,
Yeah.
and so anyway, so it was like, okay, let's do this, and my broker was completely against it. Because that was the business she was in, was selling foreclosures. And so she was
Oh,
like, I don't want you touching these. I don't want you doing BPOs. I don't want you doing any of these things. And I was like, watch me. So I learned how to do it without her, because basically I'm one of those people, tell me don't do something or you can't, especially you can't. And I'm going to be like, oh, okay, watch me, but
I really haven't done anything with foreclosures. I attempted to get into the short sales at one point, and there's a short sale negotiator, and I went through some of the classes, and I actually have done a ton of research into the town halls and all of that, and even got hauled into court with my broker and myself to talk about one, and it just has never panned out. So the short sales, I would say I've like decided it's not really worth it unless somebody like I know and they came to me, and I wouldn't say I wouldn't do it, but it wouldn't be something I've determined that it's not something that I want to pursue.
Right, right.
Foreclosures, I haven't gotten into them, and I've yet to have anybody who knows how to really work some of the systems with the whole paperwork
Okay, gotcha.
scenario. None of the brokers that I've had have known how to do any of that. And then I don't know, I think you said you do the REOs. Do you have to have like, do you end up having to pay to turn on lights and things like that?
On occasion, for certain banks, yes. On some are definite, like, for sure, like you're going to pay for everything. And others, they're like, no, you just send the bill to our department, we'll pay it, that sort of thing. So it really kind of depends these days. When I first got started, I was paying for everything. And as time has gone on, I've seen all kinds of things. I've had one lender who went in and completely remodeled an entire house. And I was freaking blown away. I was so happy because it was a dump and then it wasn't,
Yeah.
and I was so thrilled, but I was like, never in my wildest dreams did I expect to see a lender do that. Just because it just had not happened in my career in my valley.
Yeah.
And, I think the most I'd ever had a lender do before was replace a roof. And, that was really surprising. And that lender, the REO, company, they actually even gave my buyer a home warranty. And I was
Oh,
like,
wow.
great, but it's not common. It's so not common for them to do anything. Most of the time they're selling them as is, that sort of thing. And you're like handling the lawn and all of the things, like you're
Yeah.
basically the property manager and you're taking care of every little aspect of it. And it's kind of a crazy thing, but for me, like I've had problems with, anxiety and depression and stuff. And so like I go from being like an introvert, like hiding in my
Yeah.
corner, and then it's like, oh, I can deal with a bank. Like they don't need me the way like a seller like needs you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They just are like, here's our price, here's what's happening, go do. And you do your job and it sells and you're good and they're happy. And you don't have to like, hug them and love them and all of this because they're just like, we don't care, just sell it and be done, and there's no emotion in it, I guess is what I'm trying to say when it comes to foreclosures, as far as they're concerned.
Yeah, I would say for me lately, I would say the buyer side is like where I lose all of my sleep, because it's like one of the most emotional it's like a roller coaster with them.
Yeah, yeah.
And with the market being such as it is, I have some people who are doing VA loans, which are a challenge.
Right.
And even at a $500,000 price range, it's still a challenge. I'm like, okay.
Oh wow, right, that's crazy.
Yes. And it's like the whole, that's, like you said, it's like, it's emotionally draining with some of the, so it's,
Yep, yep. And that's kind of why I think I've loved foreclosures so much over the years, because it's also when the market goes, sorry if you can hear the new computer brings in all my text messages to my computer too
oh,
from my
okay.
phone. So like every time I get a text, it's dinging and I'm like, and then I don't know. Anyway, I haven't figured it all out yet, how to make it shut up when I'm doing something I want to do and not like see everything. My phone automatically turns things off, but like apparently the computer didn't get the message. Anyway, sorry. I don't
Do you
remember what
have
I was going to say now though. I'm sorry.
do you have to have special E&O coverage if you're doing foreclosures with buyers or just with sellers?
You
Do you have to
know,
have a writer for that?
You just, as far as, I've never had anything extra. I've told my company, and basically they just, like, they've always adjusted based on the volume of sales, not so much, but they've asked me always, if I'm selling foreclosures and that sort of thing. But I don't think there's anything extra on there. I'm not sure really though.
See, I think in Connecticut, from what I'm talking to people, foreclosures and short sales are two separate riders. But
Okay.
short sales, if you use a short sale negotiator, you don't have to have like get special riders. But
Mhm.
if you want to negotiate them yourselves, then you'd have to do special rider.
Okay. Okay.
Which, like I said, now I know enough. I educated myself enough about it. I learned a lot, but it's called, okay, this is not the path to take because it's too
Just too much.
challenging.
Right. And that's the best thing, about this whole process that we've gone through so far this week. Like, we get to choose, and it doesn't have to be like everyone, you know what I mean? It doesn't have to be the stressful emotional roller coaster. We can do the, like, whoever, I mean, not to say estates aren't emotional roller coasters, because I can imagine that they could be, but
It's, and here's the interesting part about that. So I would say to you, if you have an estate, one of the ones that I have is really very much. The other one is in Administrix, and she's in Massachusetts, and actually she's a real estate agent herself,
okay.
and it's very actually cut and dry. And I had another one whose mother had passed away, and he just didn't get around to it for a couple of years, but he had all cleaned out. And I went in and I said, paint a couple of things, and I said, well, just put it on the market, and that it was pretty cut and dry. So I would say to you, depending upon where they are in that, if it's completely empty, then it isn't like the one that I have right now, where everything, like, she's crying at the drop of the hat about everything.
Right, right,
Most of them haven't been that way. Most of them are, they have to do it in order to move on. So
right.
it's kind of, I think it's more like the bank side, like you're saying, it's just, here we go, let's get the best offer. And they've gotten to that point. They're
Okay.
past the whole, you know,
The
point,
emotions
and they
of
just want to get it done.
right, right. Well, that's good. The ones, okay, so my problem is the ones that I've done, of course, have been family. and
Yes.
and so, as we talked about earlier, these are the worst transactions you've ever had. And then, like, you add 10 siblings onto it, and you're like, really, really, 10 of
Yeah.
you that all want to talk to me every single day, because this one's not telling you something, and that one's not, like, it, even though they have nothing to do with any of it, because they have no legal authority to make any decisions. And you're like, this is just gonna kill me.
Yeah. I think well, and the way I came across them is I started looking for, and not a lot of the other systems have it too, like people who own homes, but they're not actually living in them.
Right, right.
And
Okay,
that's how I ended up in some of the estates to begin with, was
okay.
writing to them, because people who aren't living in the home, you have more of a chance of them wanting to sell it.
Exactly, exactly. I love that. I love that, because it's it's something that, I think, I mean, I kind of talked about it a little bit, like with the homeowners who are renters, the kind of the
Yeah.
same idea, base, or who have renters, kind of the same idea. It's like, are you tired of the hassle?
Yes, exactly.
Are you tired of the extra mortgage payment, or the this or the that, and they do respond, because they are, it
Yeah.
is a lot. And so I think that's wonderful.
For the most part, I think those have been the easiest, versus people who the people who is always, I would say to you, I'd rather do business with a stranger the majority of the time If I've never met you before, I most likely will like to do business with you. I will probably like you by the end of the time that we're working together.
Right.
Versus somebody who I knew before, I probably will like them less.
Exactly. I think that's exactly the way it is. And I think it's, you go through like the different real estate groups and you see the people in there and you see their emotions and everything that they have as they're going through. And, that's one thing, like I tell my agents to tell everyone, you're in real estate, but at the same time, I try to prepare them for, don't try to work with all your family friends, like you want to know the people that they know, like really is the ones you want to know, because your friends and family, like this is just going to go bad. I mean, it's going to go bad in so many ways. If they don't use you, it's going to go bad, because you're going to have hurt feelings. If they use you and something goes wrong, they're gonna, be mad at you because whatever, and it's just, it ruins relationships quickly, and, or if you let it, I guess, depending on how you are with those sorts of things, but it can ruin relationships really quickly. And it, I know I've had like my ex best friend, not because of that, but basically we had stopped talking, but like her and her husband were both still communicating. I mean, we weren't friends anymore, but they were still communicating as far as real estate. And then the next thing I know, she like kind of not blocked me on Facebook, but she had like changed her settings so that I couldn't see when she posted. And I was like, that's really weird. And then the next thing I know, she's selling her house. I see it on the market. And I was like, oh, now I know. She didn't want me to see that she was selling her house. And I'm just like, okay, like you could have told me, I wouldn't have been like mad. I get it. But I think I was a little more mad that she didn't tell me, but you just get your feelings hurt, and your feelings are involved, even if like you're like, nope, no feelings, no, I don't care, you still have feelings about it.
Yeah, that's very true. It's very true.
Yeah. So, well, do you have any more questions for me? I would love to, just like I said earlier today, I would just love to be here anytime, you need help or anything. Tomorrow we'll kind of go through and, create a post, that sort of thing. And kind of start working on it from that aspect. And so that you can go and make a post and start the conversation. And that's really what we're trying to do, is start a conversation with people. Excuse me. When they reach out to us, I mean, obviously at that point it's a warm lead, right? But once we have that warm lead, like having that conversation and building that relationship or that rapport, like, is so much easier, because they're reaching out to us. Like they know that they asked us for help, or they asked us for whatever the thing is they asked us for. And I'm not going to say that you'll never get ghosted, but it kind of takes off that pressure, because that they're not looking at you as just a salesperson. They're seeing you as someone who's like bringing them help, or like teaching them something. And that's just a totally different place than the scary salesperson who's like, coming to take 30 years of your income.
True. So I meant to tell you, if you're looking, and somebody told me this in the last, I think 2 weeks, ask the public. I think it's ask the public. If you go in there, you can ask up to two, you can put in a phrase, at least, I think only two phrases a day.
Okay.
And it actually, like if you type in probate, it'll give you like, and you want to pick the United States, because I made that mistake and I've used up some of my turns for the day, because it also includes like the UK, but it will actually, like if you stick in probate or like first time home buyer, it'll pull up what the most recent searches are. So somebody was saying that was a great way to come up with like some post ideas, or like your 13 you know.
Expenses. Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's a wonderful thing, you know. There, I can't remember what it was, if it was through like Google Analytics or something, but I know that there is also a way through Google that you can look that up too. And for the life of me, it's probably been a year or two since I did that. But
They actually are charging now to do that.
are they? Okay. 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 So that's, yeah. So yeah, that's what I was going to
That
say
was
is,
kind of a cool thing just to kind of like see, like, so you could make your topics kind of.
exactly. Yep. Yep. But you know, I think that having things like this where you can kind of jog your memory, you know, but it is really powerful because Lord knows you can't always be right on top of it with stuff to talk about, you know, like sometimes you need help. And I think that that's when remembering that you can recycle your content, and that even if you post something this month and then you post it again next month, like you still are going to be reaching new people who didn't see it the first time, you know?
Like, forget that, because I posted something about USDA. Do you have USDA financing
Yeah.
there? And somebody must have gone like deep into the things and was coming asking questions about it. I'm like, oh.
That's awesome.
I'm
Yep.
like, I probably should be talking about it again, because I'm thinking to myself, I don't think I've posted about that in quite some time.
Right. Right. And that's when you know, right? Like, okay, it's time
Yeah.
to start talking about that again. And that's like, it's okay, you know, it's okay to recycle. Like I said, I mean, someone could definitely scroll through everything, you know, for the last year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever it is, but make it easy on them.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. You're
put the
right.
information out there so they can find it, and you know, be that light, show them the way.
I think you're probably right on the videos. I just I'm not a video person, but I may have to change my mind on that.
Well, okay, I have a hard time when I'm doing a video by myself. Do a Zoom with someone, like get a lender and do an interview with them, like ask them up front, like what questions do you get asked the most or something like that, you know, and go in and like ask them those questions on a Zoom and record it. And then you could put it in your group, and, you know, basically you've got a whole video of how, like, what people need to know. And then it's not, I mean, and then it's you having a conversation as opposed to you like trying to record something, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
it's a
it's
little
hard to do
easier.
the cuff.
I'm sorry.
It's hard to do the things off the cuff like you're saying, but you're right, because I once upon a time I used to do trainings and things like that in a different life for examiners, and I'm thinking, you have done this. It's just not on this topic.
Right, right. And this is your zone of genius now. So
Yeah,
it's okay to start talking about it.
true, very true. So, all right. Well, thank you so much. I hope you enjoy well, I hope you have a good evening, because you still have a little bit of time. And
Yes, yes, my husband says that we're going to drive up to town. It's like 25 minutes away, and he wants me to go do errands now. And I'm like, I've been on the computer all day long and now I'm going to go do errands. Yay.
I know.
But, you know, it is what it is.
Well, if you get them out of the way before the weekend, maybe.
That's right. I get to go out of town tomorrow afternoon. So, well, tomorrow morning after the class, we're leaving. So, I'm very excited about that. We're going to go to a concert, and just like someone my husband and my friend likes. And I am like, okay, let's go do it and just have fun, you know? So I'm excited.
It would be so nice to go back to life as somewhat normal.
Right.
I have a 10-year-old who is high risk. So she had her
Oh,
first vaccine. So I'm like, just one more, and maybe we can,
get out. Yeah.
get out more.
Yeah, it's hard because it's still scary. My kids, they've had all of them, they're old enough, so they've all had the vaccine. And it's still hard because, well, one of mine, I'm gonna stop the recording.
Yeah.
Okay, stop recording.